Shall we move on to the main section of the show, which is the star ingredient of the show? This is the part of the show where we talk about a mystery, not a mystery, just an ingredient that we all know because you've made something.
Yeah.
It could be an ingredient, could be a dish. And this week is
frozen mystery white fish.
That's why I saw mystery. I was like, it's a mystery. I was like, here's to us now. It's a mystery white fish.
Specifically frozen mystery white fish. So I chose this because our shared kind of MO is being resourceful and, you know, being realistic about the sort of food that people are going to eat, and cheap and accessible and all that sort of thing. And if you go to pretty much any supermarket, in the frozen fish section, you will have all your lovely bits of haddock and cod and, you know, your fancy fillets. But you will have what are usually just called frozen white fish fillets.
Yeah.
And in fact, I popped to Lidl to have a look, and it's so cheap. And it's mystery because on the little one, it's a kilo of fillets for less than a fiver. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Do you reckon it's mixed white fish, or do you reckon it's just the same fish?
Well, on the ingredients, it says ingredients fish. that's all. Isn't that great?
Oh.
So I think it is. I did do a little bit of research. I think it's a bassa, sometimes pollock, coley, tilapia.
Tilapia, that's what I was going to say. I think that's the main one.
And it can be, I would assume it could be any of those, which is why they just put fish rather than.
But this is always my, like, I did the student series and I used the mystery white fish, and people were like, oh, surely you should know what kind of fish you're eating. And I was like, well, it's a bit of a roulette, isn't it? It's quite exciting. And then, you know, obviously my channel's all about food waste. Then people connect food waste to sustainability. And then all of a sudden people were just like, you're destroying the planet because you're eating mystery white fish. And I was like, I'm eating it. It's better than it going in the bin.
Yeah.
That's my argument done. But then there is that argument about, like, you know, where is this fish coming from?
I mean, looking at so I went round a few supermarkets and looked, and all of the cheap frozen fillets have got the MSC logo on, which I know, for those who don't know, it's the Marine Stewardship Council.
Yeah.
And it's a charity, I believe, about sustainable fishing and making sure that things aren't overfished and so on. And I believe there is controversy, but there is with everything.
Yeah,
I think there's a documentary called Seaspiracy, which a lot of people have said, oh, you want to watch Seaspiracy and then you won't be supporting the MSC
while you're sitting there in your pants, eating fish fingers.
All guilty. But yes, and of course there's all sorts of issues, but, you know, as you say, it's cheap. People don't have a lot of money, especially not at the moment.
And I mean, you know, if we were all living in the wonderful world where we could all afford to go to a fishmonger's, and I know people go, oh yeah, you can, but then lots of people can't. Yeah. And lots of people buy stuff to put in the freezer to have the option of cooking something at a later date. It's not always that thing of going, buy fresh because it's best. Yes, it is, but a lot of people don't have the option. Yeah,
or the confidence or anything. It's like, I always laugh at Nigel Slater's writing when he talks about going to the fishmonger and saying, oh, you want to check the gills and look at that and ask the fishmonger what's fresh, and it's like, oh, come on, who does that?
I know.
Just do that in Lidl, going there, what's fresh, what's
go to the fish counter,
check the eyes. But anyway, yes, so I chose that because it's an ingredient that I do use an awful lot. I always have a bag of those in the freezer, and it's really versatile, and it doesn't look particularly attractive. It can look a bit grey when it's cooked, unlike a big lump of expensive, you know, white cod fillet. But
well, that's what I was going to say. It's not the kind of, like, you don't take a sort of a bit of frozen fish and then plop it on the top of some lovely braised beans and go, this is going to be nice.
Yeah.
If you mix it through something, like make a fish stew, no one would probably know. They'll be like, oh, fish. But all fish is frozen anyway. That's what people don't really understand. Like, you know, even if you're going to go have tuna sashimi, you know, that tuna's been blast frozen when it's been caught, and, you know, most frozen food is the freshest that you could probably stop it at.
Yes, similarly with vegetables. Like, you know,
peas.
Peas in a previous episode. If anyone wants to skip back, the pea episode is an absolute belter. I think it was one of the highest spiking episodes so far.
And beans, but the beans was the highest spike, wasn't it? Oh no!
Oh, that was
the social media.
Clips, yeah. But as far as episodes go, I think peas was very, very high up there. But when you made that amazing pea soup, super simple.
So what have you got for us? What have you got that's going to be our tasting piece?
Well, you touched on it already because you said about doing a fish stew.
Ooh.
So it's a kind of tomato fish stew, and it's a recipe that I have to give credit to my friend Matt Lincoln, who is
Matt from Lincoln or Matt Lincoln?
Matt Lincoln from Lincoln. No, he's not actually. He's from Bath.
But lovely.
Yeah, well, Bradford-on-Avon actually is where he lives.
Right.
Brought up in Bath.
Okay.
Bradford's just south of Bath.
Okay.
Anyway, it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. It's not a geography podcast.
He's a photographer, and he's an absolutely brilliant, instinctive cook. Not trained or anything, but just, we used to go on holiday with our two families together, and we cooked together, and he's just really inventive.
You spoke about him before.
I have.
The ham story.
What was the ham story?
About the sweaty leg of ham that you brought.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, same family.
Yeah.
Great. Go a long way back.
So this is his recipe, and what you do, I'll get it out.
Get it out, George.
What you do, I've got some herbs.
Can you eat this one in your
top of
vest,
it.
please?
I'll be wearing my vest.
Tomato-based.
I'm not going to take my shirt off. I don't think anyone watching this needs to see.
I think they do. Can we get a poll going on the next socials and being like,
what have I got here? What have I got here? Oh my God, it's a
pot from mine.
No, it's your Tupperware.
That's B&Q.
Well, I brought it to return to you, and so. Shall we have this cold? I don't mind this cold.
No, I love cold stuff. Yeah, why not?
I've actually prefer.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's such a weird thing, like a chefy thing. It's like, you just eat when you can, so you just grab stuff as and when.
Yeah.
And Janine's always like, why don't you warm that up? And I'm like, that's quite nice.
Yeah.
We like a bit of lasagna cold.
Yeah.
Like, what's your favourite thing to have cold?
Me.
Yeah.
Curry. Sorry, I just listen. Folks, this is me. I'm skipping my stool forward.
You really brought your whole body into that.
Using inertia to get it there. Curry.
Curry, yeah.
Cold takeaway curry, cold from the fridge.
Big
next
lumps
morning.
of meat. Oh, yum.
Just so good. So this recipe is, I think it's ingenious.
Okay.
It requires barely any chopping, no frying. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you get your frozen mystery white fish fillets.
It smells amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Is that the Indian takeaway?
No,
brought
but
the
there
wrong
is
one
some
in.
spice in there. So what it is?
What is? Can we try and guess the mystery white fish?
What the fish is? Well, it just says fish, so we don't know. I mean, it's quite thin fillets, isn't it?
It is.
So what do you think? Tilapia?
Yeah, it looks like tilapia. It's not like the cod. You'll definitely have a bit more of a cod, pollock, ling. You'd all have a bit of substance to it, like thickness.
Well, cod also, that's not going to end up in the mystery fish, is it?
Well, it might do.
Do you think?
Yeah, my parents lived in Shetland for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And there was a big controversy at one point because when you can't overfish, but what they did is they came in and had this big black tube that went underneath the boat and like bypassed the main factory so they could sell it off the black market of fish. Yeah, so they like overcaught by say like a ton and they could like siphon it off, but they got fined millions.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? That they overfish and then they end up just chucking it back in the sea dead.
Well, the seals love it.
Right, bet.
Yeah, almost lost a hand to a seal once.
Really?
We used to go mackerel fishing all the time when we was up in Shetland. And then you would chuck a mackerel over the back and then the seal would come along like this and be like, oh, they're kind of cute. And then we got to the bay and then I put this bit of mackerel on the side and his fin came up. Whoom, and their teeth are like horrendously scary.
Yeah.
Like something out of like an alien movie.
Like big dogs, really.
Yeah. But like scary. And they're massive. And then my dad was like, be careful. And I forgot to move my hand. But yeah, good story that.
What this is, barely any chopping, no pre-frying. What you do is into a shallow pan, you put your frozen fish fillets, tin of tomatoes, bit of red wine, capers, just chopped up red onion, really roughly chopped up into big, like, quarters, eighths, whatever. Loads of garlic. I've got to check my recipe. What else is there? Smoked paprika.
Oh.
And that's it. That's it. Crushed coriander seeds. And then what you do is you bring it up to heat on the hob, put a lid on, put it in the oven for half an hour, then take the lid off, give it another 15 minutes. And the trick is don't move it around much. Go for it. Because that sort of fish, if you stir it at all, you'll end up just with like fish flakes. Whereas if you, doesn't that work?
Oh, it's like almost like a tagine vibe.
Yeah. But it's just so what I did just to dress it, I put a tiny bit of mint and some parsley and some lemon on top. I'm gonna try as well.
Yum. Whoa, nice, George.
But all credit to Matt Lincoln because it's his idea, and I just love. It's one of those, you know, all right, we want to eat in 45 minutes. We haven't defrosted anything. I haven't got time to get on with it. As I say, no, I mean the only chopping is peeling the onion and quartering it, and peeling the garlic and halving it, and then it just all goes in. And stick it in the oven, and then wallop. You got.
It's like one of those things that you could preload a pan. Like if you did that in the morning, preload it, and then come back home, slop it in.
Yeah,
off you go. No need to defrost the fish. Just off she goes.
Nope. Just. I mean, I think it works better if it is frozen because it keeps its shape. Whereas actually, if because you heat it up on the hob before you put it in the oven.
Yeah.
So you're stirring it round, and you've just got these big clunky bits of frozen fish that you're stirring. They're getting the sauce hot around them, which will then slowly cook as the sauce heats up. And actually, if it were defrosted already, that stirring, you're going to end up with broken up bits of fish. Whereas this, you could, and the sauce disguises the fact that these fish fillets, as we say, can look a bit grey and a bit unattractive.
Yeah.
But actually, when they're dressed in that really nice oily, there's a lot of olive oil in there, a bit like your sauce last week. And it just masks the ugly look of the fish.
This is sort of like deviating to the way of cooking, but this is what like cooking is all about in terms of, you have this dish, but then you learnt something from me last week, and then you implemented that into this dish, and it's just like a lot of the videos I do, people are just like, oh yeah, but I would never do that. And it's like, yeah, but there's one technique you've probably seen, and you probably will carry on doing it. So that oily one,
completely.
love it.
No, I think that's the thing is that you put all that info out there, and as you say, people will just pick up on one or two little things. And there's things I've learned, decades ago that I just always do now. But that with a bit of rice or just nice hunk of bread, just scoopy.
Yeah, or like some mussels through there at the end.
Yes.
Imagine some tinned mussels, some jarred mussels.
Yeah. That would be beautiful. Cockles as well.
Oh, we're getting right seaside, don't we? What about some...
What about your friend of mine, prawns?
Yeah. What about a big dollop of caviar? Or a lobster tail. Imagine that. Just whoop.
I mean, it would work.
I'd give that at least 9 out of 10.
I would give that... I'm going to give it 9.5.
Oh.
Actually, no, I'm going to give it 10 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's for that kind of cheap thing. But I think with these fish fillets, there's so many more things you can do with them. You can put them in fish cakes, you can put them in fish pie,
fish fingers,
your own homemade rugged fish fingers, but wasted leftover bread, whiz that up in the NutriBullet. Pane those, deep fry them, or just bake them with a bit of...
Well, like we said earlier, you just have to step away from the thought of going, I'm going to put this on a wonderful dish.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to have this with, like, noodles and then a lovely bit of sea bass pan fried. You're not going to pan fry a bit of frozen fish and stick it on top because it would just be a bit odd. But, through soups, broths, maybe making, like, a noodle broth, like an Asian-style broth. You could put a bit of fish... Ooh.
Oh, totally. And if you were paneing them, then it could be on top. You could stick that on top. That would look beautiful.
Basically, all we're saying is if you buy mystery fish, hide it. It's good for you. Anyway,
so there we go. So that's fish. That's
well done, George.
Fish.
I love fish.
Well done. I think we should once again just say well done, Matt Lincoln, because that's his recipe.
Well done, Lincoln.